Hey everybody, today we're going to review the Kreft Moto Plush Tank. This is a pretty cool product. I paid full price for this thing and we're going to install it on my 250 XC today. I've ridden with it one time. I don't want to spoil any of this, but it is good enough that I wanted to actually show you this install, because a lot of times I'll film installs and then I don't really even like the product, and so I never show it to you. But again, this one I think is probably pretty cool. So here's the install of this. Again, I paid full price for this. This is in no way connected with Kreft Moto. I'll be testing it over the summer and then bring the kind of the full review and what I think of it to you later in the year. So watch for that. But pretty cool product, bolt-on product for any of the KTM Air forks, the exact forks, and yeah, let's check it out. Honestly, one of the best parts about Kreft Moto is their presentation. They really have this down. It almost looks like an Apple unboxing here, but a lot of cool stuff inside of here. And it's a very simple product with a simple install, but I just like their attention to detail on things. The fit and finish of this stuff, the way that they put together their instructions and things is just something that not a lot of people have as much polish on this in our industry as Kreft Moto. The instructions were fantastic. Very, very easy to follow. First thing that we're going to do is let the air slowly out of our fork. So we're going to install our fork, or our shock pump right here, our fork pump, and we're going to slowly let the air out. I've compressed this down, I've edited this out, but you don't want to let the air out too quickly. You want to just take your time with this, let a little bit out, and then let it sit for a bit. The main thing is we just don't want to let the air out too fast. Then we're going to remove our valve off this thing, and our valve core here, I think it's a 10 millimeter if I remember correctly, and then we're just going to slip our fork down. So I'm just going to loosen my triple clamps on the bottom and the top. You can see I already had that kind of ready. Make sure you pay attention to exactly how high that was before, and then you're just slipping this the bracket on here onto your fork, and we're just gonna put the fork back up to the approximate height. I'm gonna make sure that I've got it the exact same height, and then I'll just snug one of those bolts up. Here I'm going to then just torque things. Again, I was making sure that it's exactly aligned. I've got videos on how to align your forks to make sure that there's no bind down at the axle. Here I'm just using my torque wrench. I believe it's 12 Newton meters down on the bottom, and then we're going to go 17 Newton meters up on the top triple clamp. It's very important to torque these bolts. It's basically the only place on the motorcycle that I shouldn't admit that, but it's pretty much the only place on the motorcycle, on the dirt bike, that I actually torque. There might be a couple other places. I'm just going to put now the hose on the top of this thing just for fitment. You notice I'm just putting it finger tight because I'm just doing this for fitment. So you slide this down into the bracket, and I'm going to need to spin that valve all the way around so that you can't see it from the front, and eventually I will figure that out. But the whole idea here is just to make sure that the fitment is okay. The fitment, the place that you put this is kind of finicky. There's a spot, and you're gonna have to figure it out on your bike, but it's a little bit finicky there. Then I'm gonna use some isopropyl rubbing alcohol, or you could use acetone to clear the Loctite out of the threads up here. We wanna get that completely clear so that those threads are clean. Then at this point, you're going to take your hose, and you're going to carefully, very, very, very carefully. I think this is the part that you would screw up and have the biggest trouble. Very carefully hand start this thing. You have to use an Allen key here, a hex key, because you can't turn that with your fingers. But be very, very careful here that you do not cross thread that. If you cross threaded the top cap, you're going to need a new top cap for your fork, and that's not going to be cheap, and that's going to really suck. So just take your time here. This is the part that you want to be the most careful and kind of get that torque down. Now, this is another critical part. This is, now that you're installing the hose down on the actual plush tank, you got to go fingers, and you're going to have to kind of put pressure with one hand so that you can get that straight, and just take your time and get this thing. Do not put a wrench on that until you know you've got multiple threads or multiple rounds on that thing, so that you don't strip this whole thing out, because it's expensive, and this is the only part that you're really going to screw up here probably. At this point, I'll get my end wrench on here. I believe it was a 19 millimeter if I remember correctly. And then these things don't have to be crazy tight. They've got gaskets. And this is pretty much what it's going to look like. Now, the only thing I didn't love about this is you can't run a headlight. I had just put on a headlight on my bike, but you cannot run this with a headlight. You can see it takes all the space back there behind, well, not all the space, but it takes enough space behind the number plate that it's just kind of a tight fit. Then you see the valve. You can run it on plush, which is up. You can run it on firm. Again, I'm showing you how you have to have this kind of turned back so that you can see this and adjust it from behind the forks there. And then at this point, I mean, that's it. It's a super simple install. I'm putting the wheel back on. And then after that, we're gonna put our pressure, pump our pressure back up in the fork. Now, for me, KTM, this is a 2021 KTM 250XE, and KTM says run 139 PSI. I've found that I can run lesser pressure, and I like the way that feels. So I'm just going to pump this thing up, and you'll notice that they have a nice little place for this, your hose to come onto. But after a lot of pumping, I get the thing up to 130 PSI. I've had really good luck with that. You also want to be pumping this up with the valve set to plush. It'll say that over and over in the instructions, but pump it up with the valve set to plush, with it up on a stand, and then you should be good to go. And that's all that is required to get this thing installed. Pretty cool. So that's it. Pretty easy to install, right? What I think the purpose of this product is for, and what I've seen so far, is that this is supposed to take your exact fork and make it feel more like the Explorer fork that you would get on the XCW. Not to spoil it too much, but it's probably gonna do that for us here. So again, make sure that you're checking your pressure with this, with it on plush and up on a stand after you get it installed, and every time that you check your pressure. And I check my pressure before every ride. So pretty excited about this. Pretty cool product from Kreft Moto. Stay tuned for the full review on this. Again, if you want to support Dirt Bike Channel, one of the best ways you can do it is use my links to Rocky Mountain ATV. I don't believe they actually sell this, but use my links to Rocky Mountain ATV for all of your other purchases because that really helps to support. Also, I have Dirt Bike Channel sweepstakes that happen throughout the year. I've got one starting on August 1st, and it'll go for only 1 month. And we're going to be giving away that brand new KTM 250 XCW TPI. You wouldn't need to install this on there because it's got the Explorer fork. But watch for that, because for 1 month only, during the month of August, we'll be giving away that bike, and it should be really cool. I've got some extra surprises that we've never done before, so stay tuned for that. Okay, that's what I have for you guys. This is the plush tank install from Kreft Moto. So far, so good. And until next time, leave a single track. Thanks.